If you want to reach the highest levels of the professional world, there is a heavy toll to pay. For decades, the assumption has been that the only way to break through that barrier is to hand over $150,000 to an elite university for a Master of Business Administration. But stepping onto a prestigious campus often means stepping into decades of crushing debt. And once you're there, the curriculum tends to prioritize highly complex, overly specific mathematical models that rarely survive contact with the real world. There is another way in. Instead of memorizing abstract case studies, you can decode the actual mechanics of commerce by mastering a few dozen universal mental models. This approach is laid out in Josh Kaufman's foundational book, The Personal MBA. By stripping away the corporate buzzwords and academic theory, you get the exact mechanical, psychological, and systemic tools required to build a profitable enterprise, completely bypassing the traditional gatekeepers. To understand how those tools work, we have to look at this diagram showing a 5-part cyclical engine. Every successful enterprise on Earth begins with this first gear, value creation. You have to offer something people actually want at a price they are willing to pay, a concept known as the iron law of the market. Once you have something valuable, the engine turns. You have to earn attention in a crowded world, which is marketing. Then you convert that attention into trust, convincing someone your value is worth their hard-earned money. That is sales. The loop completes with the final 2 gears. Value delivery means building a reliable system to meet your customers' expectations every single time. And finance ensures you bring in enough cash flow to maintain your purchasing power and keep the whole machine running. But this mechanical loop will stall immediately if it doesn't align with a core human drive. As psychologist Abraham Maslow mapped out, human beings are motivated by specific, hierarchical needs, from basic physical survival and safety to social belonging and self-actualization. The iron law of the market demands that your value satisfies one of those specific drives. Before you spend a single dollar building a product, you should explicitly identify which core drive you are targeting. Then run a shadow test. Pitch the concept to real people and see if they attempt to buy it before it even exists. If your project is missing a clear human drive, or any of the 5 mechanical components of the engine, you don't have a business. You have a hobby, or a pending failure. Operating that engine requires dealing with people, and humans have evolved a highly specific trait, laziness. Think of it as the conservation of energy. Like a boulder rolling down a pre-carved channel, human beings naturally take the path of least resistance to conserve calories for survival. Because of that biological wiring, relying on sheer willpower is a losing strategy. Instead, behavior is driven by guiding structure, the physical and social layout of your environment. If you want to change a behavior, you have to redesign the environment to make the desired action the easiest option available. You can apply this to your own productivity. When you feel acrasia, that internal resistance to doing the work you know you need to do, you can cut through it by isolating a small handful of most important tasks and removing every other distraction from your workspace. When managing others, the mechanics are similar. You get the best out of a team by applying the golden trifecta, treating people with appreciation, courtesy, and respect, which fulfills their core need for safety and importance. Then you give them commander's intent, explaining the end goal clearly without micromanaging the steps. So drop the reliance on sheer grit. Build physical channels that make good habits inevitable. And when leading a team, explicitly communicate the reason why behind a project so everyone understands their role, eliminating the friction of bystander apathy. When a company hits a bottleneck, the issue is rarely a math or engineering error. The failure usually comes down to human behavior, and it requires a psychological solution. Once the mechanical engine is running and the human operators are aligned, the business becomes a complex macro system, existing within massive, interconnected networks of industries and economies. If you want to scale that system, this diagram shows exactly how Gaule's law dictates the process. The principle states that a complex system will only function if it evolved from a simple system that already worked. You cannot build a massive, intricate web from scratch. You have to start with a single functional feedback loop and let it multiply over time. As that multiplication happens, you will inevitably encounter friction. Scaling requires making difficult trade-offs between speed, quality, and cost, and no system can be perfectly optimized for all 3 at once. To navigate those trade-offs, you need to adopt an experimental mindset. As Chef Julia Child demonstrated when she famously flipped a messy potato pancake on television, the only way to learn what works is to just try it. Test small changes. Identify the critical few inputs that actually yield returns, and ruthlessly eliminate the rest. True optimization never means adding more layers of complexity. It means refining the machine down to its absolute simplest, most effective form. Business is not magic, and it certainly isn't rocket science. As former GE CEO Jack Welch pointed out, people drastically overestimate the complexity of commerce. It is simply the logical intersection of a valuable offer, human psychology, and reliable systems. The gatekeepers of elite academia want you to believe you need to memorize millions of hyper-specific methods to survive. You don't. You only need to grasp a handful of core principles. Once you understand those rules, the only variable left is you. You have to take control of your own thoughts, design your own habits, and take responsibility for your own problem-solving. By internalizing these basic mental models, you gain the ability to create immense value for others, allowing you to chart a highly profitable course in absolutely any industry. You are the ultimate creator of your own professional destiny, and you don't need a prestigious degree to start building it today.